Welcome to the Pint Glass Football Podcast.
What's up, PGF Nation? We are excited to be back right before Christmas. Hope you guys are having a great holiday season. Bears with an incredible comeback versus the Packers. Is everyone sleeping on the Jaguars after a huge win in Denver? Lions look like they could miss the playoffs. Pretty shocking. And college football playoff first round reactions. Miami and Alabama getting some big wins. We got a lot more to get to as well. But once again, I'm your host, Brad Fowler. Joining me as always, my co-host, Alex Higdon. Alex, what is going on?
Hey, what's up, Brad, man? Let's get right to it.
Yeah, a lot to get to, man, for sure. Got to get this episode in before the holidays. A lot of great football this weekend, man. College football playoff, of course, had some big games in the NFL as we get closer to the NFL playoffs as well. And look, it looks like the Lions might not be in the playoffs, Alex. This was a devastating loss for them against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers dominated most of this game. Then we had that wild finish. Steelers really kind of survived what would have been a late collapse. I mean, I didn't have any issue with the flags late in that game. I thought they were the right calls. What was your big takeaway from this one?
You can really just go right to the last play of the game. Well, not really the last play of the game, but the Detroit last play of the game where they threw the ball. They got hit at the half-yard line. I don't know if the whistle was blown or not, but then he fumbles the ball, and then Jared Goff picks up the fumble and runs it in, and then they rule it after that. They rule it too late, too long in terms of when they tackled him to when he fumbled, that that it wasn't a fumble, it was a ruled dead ball. And the go-ahead touchdown that would have put the Lions ahead was ruled out.
The offensive pass interference call, I thought it was the right call. I know that's a really tough pill to swallow for Lions fans, but I thought it was the right call. I thought a couple of those flags late that went against the Lions, I actually didn't have an issue with any of them. This had to be the best offensive game I've seen from the Steelers all year. I mean, they were really clicking. They ran the ball all over Detroit. Like I said, probably knocks them out of the playoff picture. I know they're not eliminated just yet, but man, they're on the verge. And it's a pretty shocking collapse for a team that I think a lot of us thought would take a step back, but I certainly didn't think they would miss the playoffs this year. So really tough for them because this is a team that was knocking on the door of the Super Bowl. They've really been one of these legit Super Bowl contenders, and they were viewed as one coming into this year. And to miss the playoffs or potentially miss the playoffs, man, that's got to be devastating for this team. Look, I want to get into a side note here. DK Metcalf on the sideline swinging on a fan. It looks like he's going to get suspended for 2 games. I mean, what an idiot, Alex. What is this guy doing? And it's got me thinking bigger picture here. Steelers get rid of George Pickens because of his attitude, his work ethic, reported locker room issues. And then you overpay for a guy like DK, who's been a major disappointment on the field, and then does this and gets suspended. I mean, I feel like the culture right now is really in question with Pittsburgh. I know they've been impressive with this 3-game win streak they're on, but the bottom line is, I don't like the way this team is built. I'm not impressed with this team overall. I don't believe in this team overall at all. And I think we're looking at another, 9-10 win season, another early playoff exit, and more fans scratching their head saying, this is the same old Steelers year in and year out. I think there has to be a big reset coming next year in Pittsburgh. They can't just keep spinning their wheels as a good, slightly above average team that doesn't ever do anything.
Yeah, they actually have to do something. I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers added a lot to this team just as a whole. As being the quarterback of this situation, he's added a lot to this team. So they've gotten some things done there. So I have to give them some respect there.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly better at quarterback. I mean, that's for sure. And they look better at that position. And they've had some moments like in this game where the offense has looked better. But I still just don't believe in this team at all. And I do think there's going to be big changes. And I wonder if Aaron Rodgers really wants to come back next year knowing that this team really isn't a contender. It's just, did he just want to go out with a winning record, go out as a playoff performer? I'm not sure if that was the goal or not. Maybe he just wanted to get that bad taste out of his mouth after the experiment in New York. I'm not sure, but I think there's going to be big changes there for them for sure. But look, I want to shift here to a game that was really big, and I think this was an eye-opening game, Alex. Jacksonville Jaguars absolutely hammered the Broncos on the road in Denver, dominated this game physically, took it to Denver. I think this was a statement win for the Jags on the road. Trevor Lawrence now has 18 total touchdowns during this Jaguars 6-game winning streak. He's playing the best football of his career. How impressed were you with this Jaguars win? Because there was nothing fluky about this game.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I wasn't sure who was going to win this game. I didn't pick Denver and I didn't pick Jacksonville. I stayed away from this game from a betting standpoint. But watching it, this was clearly Denver's game to win easily. I mean, they ran the ball to the best of their ability. Obviously, Trevor took the game over, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he was also second in rushing, adding a touchdown with that as well. Parker Washington, 6 catches, 145 yards, and then they dominated them defensively as well, holding them only to 20 points. So I had no holdback by watching this game that Jacksonville was going to win.
It doesn't shock me they won. I think it just shocks me in the way they won and just being so dominant both sides of the ball. And look, I think bigger picture here, we've seen Trevor Lawrence now really starting to play at a level we've never seen from this guy. We've seen flashes, but we've never seen him put it together like the streak he's on right now. And it's also got me wondering, because a game that we're going to get to here in a little bit, when we talk about Tampa Bay and Carolina, Baker Mayfield has clearly taken a step back this year. And I know he had a good start to the year, but he's really not playing very good football down the stretch. And it's got me wondering, Alex, how good is Liam Cohen? I mean, how good of a hire was this guy for the Jaguars? Because now we're seeing Trevor Lawrence really come into his own, Baker taking a step back. And look, that's the direct correlation here is the head coach. Because like I said, this team is rolling right now. Lawrence is a guy that we've talked about it a bunch on the show, a guy that looked like a bust, suddenly looking like the guy we expected coming out of Clemson. 34 points. That's the most the Broncos have given up all year. This is a great defense, and they had no problem moving the ball on them. I was blown away by the Jags. And here's the big question, though, because we know that this AFC playoff picture is about as open as it looks, or is about as open as it's looked in a really long time. Is Jacksonville a real threat in the AFC right now?
I think they're a legit contender because of what we saw from Kansas City and what we're seeing from Baltimore. You get Lamar Jackson out of there, you get Patrick Mahomes out of there, and now it's up there. It's anybody can win. And I don't believe in Buffalo as a playoff team either. So you take those 3 quarterbacks out, and now you have 3 other quarterbacks enter into the division where they can win. So now I think it's really wide open on who can take the AFC championship.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the AFC is wide open. I think just about anybody could come out of there and it wouldn't totally shock me. And I'm with you on the Bills. I think they're just too reliant on Josh Allen. I don't think they're a great team. I think they have a great quarterback and they have some nice pieces, but I don't think they're a great team. So I think you're right. Let's shift to the NFC here because we had a crazy game. Bears-Packers. Man, this is one of those games where you probably look at the score late and you're thinking, I can flip it over to another game. No, this is the craziest comeback on Sunday. That onside kick, the field goal kicker in this game was huge. Malik Willis, this guy comes in. He's got to be one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And the Bears have proven one thing this season, Alex, and that is for sure that this is a resilient group, man. They just never quit.
Yeah, and then as you look at Caleb Williams, now all of the stats you're going to look at the completion percentage, you're going to look at the yards, you're going to look at a lot of different things. But the one thing that he's been very consistent about, at least the 2 years that he's been in here, he's been under 10 interceptions each year. Now, the completion percentage has been, well, no, I don't want to say it's been at 62, and this year it's at 57, or let's just say 58 to average up. So he's not completing a lot of passes. However, he's not turning the ball over and giving it away to the other team, and that's huge. When you're not having a high completion percentage and you're not turning the ball over, and that is something huge to say in your playbook, that I can pass the ball, but I don't have to give it away.
Yeah, he takes care of the ball for sure, and he makes big plays in big moments. I think that's the one thing that really stands out about him, whether it's third quarters, 2-minute drills, fourth quarters. red zone. He's just been good when it really matters this year. And this team has been good when it really matters this year. They have so many late game wins and so many come from behind wins this year. It's really impressive. And look, on the Packers side, this is the team that looked like a Super Bowl team a month ago. And now all of a sudden they're fighting for their playoff lives. This was a big loss. And all these injuries have really cost this team down the stretch. Look, I don't know if they're going to have Jordan Love for the final two games. I haven't seen an update on that report yet. Just a few weeks ago, they were the 1 seed and looking like a team that could roll in the NFC. So that's a devastating loss. The injuries have been devastating for this team. But the last thing I want to say about Chicago here before we move on, Alex, Ryan Poles has done an unbelievable job in Chicago. Because the short time he's been there, what he's done with this roster, it's really starting to show now because they have talent on both sides of the ball. They've got playmakers. He's solidified the offensive line. The defense is looking good. They're taking the ball away. And now you've got the coach and the right coach for this team. And it is clicking for the Bears right now because, look, this is probably even better than most Bears fans thought it would go this season. And I wouldn't be shocked if they actually made a little noise in the playoffs as well, because this is a tough football team.
Yeah, that's agreed. As we move on, before we get to the Rams and the Seahawks, just a real quick shout out to what the Panthers did against against the staunch Tampa Bay Buccaneers, getting that game, and they play each other twice. So they're playing for the division right now. Right now they're 8-7 and Tampa Bay is 7-8. They have to win this game. They've lost now 3 games. They have lost now 3 games in a row. Let's say they've lost to the Saints, they've lost to the Falcons, and they just lost to the Panthers. Now they face Miami, and then they go back to face the Panthers at home. So this game against Miami, which I didn't think should have been a big game, it's now a big game that they have to win. Because if they don't win, Carolina's going to walk into the playoffs.
Alex, this Bucs team was 5-1 at one point. We were talking about Baker Mayfield as possibly an MVP candidate. This team was looking like they were going to run away with this division. They have completely collapsed down the stretch. They have lost 6 of their last 7 games down the stretch now. And this loss to the Panthers was huge because obviously we know that they're fighting for the division right now. I don't know what to make of this team. And now there's real talk about Todd Bowles and his seat heating up. I don't know if that's fair or not, but look, this team has been a complete collapse after the start we've seen. And I don't really know what to put it on because early in the year, they were dealing with a lot of injuries and Baker was kind of putting this team on his back and, scraping together wins. Then they started getting healthy and they start losing games. I don't know what to make of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of them either. I don't know what to call them right now. At this point, I'm at a stand and watch until the final game of the season.
Let's get to Rams Seahawks. This was a crazy game. Probably the best Thursday night football game of the year. We don't always jump back to the Thursday night game by the time we get to record these, but I think we have to with this one because it was a massive game, huge matchup in the NFC West, major playoff implications, and the Seahawks end up coming back. 16-point deficit in the fourth quarter. They come back, force overtime, and get a huge win. Watching this game, the big concern for me, and I know the Seahawks deserve a lot of credit, they get the big win here, but L.A. gashed Mike McDonald's defense, and that was without Davante Adams. That was eye-opening for me, Alex, because there was a lot of explosive passing plays for the Rams in this game. Now, granted, I'll give the Seahawks credit. They got stops when they needed them, especially late in that game. But that's a concern for me going forward because there's a good chance you're going to see this team again in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talk about Puka Nacua going 12 for 25. No Davante Adams, so you know that there was no other main cog on the other side from him. So there's just Puka Nacua. He's out there. He catches 12 for 225. Matthew Stafford goes for 457, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Blake Corum runs for a touchdown. They score 37 points. However, they still lose 38-37 at the end of this game.
Yeah, and like I said, this game had major playoff implications. Now, Seattle still has to hold off the Rams and the 49ers to win the division, but the Rams now fall to the 5 seed. And like you said, Puka Nacua, this guy has been unstoppable. 573 receiving yards in the past 3 games. What a force this guy has been. But here's the question between these two teams. Which team do you trust more in the playoffs?
Now with this one, I'm going to give it to the Rams because they've shown that they can go out there and they can win by running the ball or passing the ball or playing in a phone booth fight with the defense. So they've shown me they can win on the ground, through the air, or defensively if they need to.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you because I think you're right. I think you hit it right on the head. I think the Rams can win multiple ways. Like you said, they can win in a shootout and they can win in a fist fight. They can run the ball. I just think they're a more complete team, and that's nothing against the Seahawks. I think they've had a really great season, and they're certainly going to be a tough out. But yeah, I still trust the Rams even after a big win from Seattle. Speaking of big wins here, 49ers Colts Monday Night Football game. Look, 49ers roll past the Colts. 49ers offense has been absolutely lights out for the last few weeks now. Brock Purdy gets the game ball this week for me, Alex. 25 of 34, 295 yards, 5 touchdown passes. He was so razor sharp in this game. He made so many great throws, in big throws, especially on third down, red zone. He was unstoppable. Christian McCaffrey continues to be the best offensive weapon in the NFL. What did you make of this game? I mean, Colts just didn't have enough firepower to keep up with the Niners offense.
At some point, you're going to have to take a look at Christian McCaffrey and where he is in total yards, not rushing and not just passing, in total yards, where he is and where he can go from here. Because right now, he's not leading the way anymore. But I think by the end of this year, he'll be leading the league in yards from scrimmage.
He's on pace to have another 1,000-yard rushing, 1,000-yard receiving season. If he gets that done, he'll be the first player in NFL history to have 2 seasons where he accomplished that feat. Unbelievable all-around weapon in this offense. When he is healthy, he is just a difference maker. And look, for the Colts, Phillip Rivers, it's a great story. He actually played really good in this game. I got to give him some credit. This guy comes in, jumps right into this offense, only been there 2 weeks, understands offense, still can play clearly, even 5 years removed from the league. It's an incredible story. Doesn't quite look like the guy we remember, but still navigating the offense and making a lot of big-time throws. I mean, the thing was, like I said, the Colts defense just had zero answers for the 49ers. This just turned into a game where they were going to have to score 50 points, essentially, to beat this team. So, I can't really I know he had the big pick late in the game, but I can't really put too much on Phillip Rivers. It's just that Colts defense, man, they just couldn't get it done. And the Colts offense has not been able to run the ball since Daniel Jones got hurt. That has really hurt this team. Their season went from a dream to a nightmare down the stretch. This was a team that was looking like a potential number 1 seed in the playoffs. They go all in for Sauce Gardner at the time. The injuries just derailed this season, and it's really got to be a tough pill to swallow for the Colts fans.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm a Colts fan. They made the trade for Sauce Gardner. They gave up 2 first-round picks. He's also hurt, but I don't know what I'm looking at if I'm a Colts fan going into next year, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because we talked about it at the time, Alex. When they made that move to get Sauce Gardner, that indicated to me that this franchise really had bought into Daniel Jones as being their future quarterback of this team. Because if you're going to move that kind of draft capital for a guy like Sauce Gardner, it tells me that you're not worried about having to use those first-round picks on a quarterback. So they had clearly a belief in this guy and the direction that the team was going. And I can't really blame them because where they were at that point in the season, it looked like they might be a quote-unquote Sauce Gardner away from being a Super Bowl contender. But man, with the injuries, this team has just fallen apart. And it looks like now they're probably out of the playoff picture. This Monday night game just kind of put it all full circle for them. And I give them a lot of credit for going and getting Phillip Rivers, not wanting to throw in the towel on the season, but it's just too much to overcome late for this team. All right, Alex, New England Patriots pull off another big win late in the year here, 28-24 over Baltimore. Baltimore is fighting for their playoff lives. Lamar Jackson gets hurt in this game. Huntley has to come in. I have to give Baltimore a lot of credit for getting out of the hole that they were in, that 1-5 start. Looked like the season was really going off the rails early in the year. They got some guys back. They had a lot of injuries. They got some guys back. They made a push to get back into the playoff race. And technically, they're still in the race with Pittsburgh to possibly win the AFC North, but this was a big loss for them and a big win for the New England Patriots, because once again, this team is just showing that they could be a real problem come playoff time, even though it's a team that feels like they're a year ahead of schedule. What's your big takeaways from this game? Because I was impressed with Drake May in this game once again in a big primetime game, in a big moment late in the year. I just thought he was really, really sharp in this game, made some huge throws.
Yeah, so I mean, Drake made, 31 of 44, 380 yards, a TD, and then an interception as well. And then also Ramondre Stevenson coming in for an injured Travion Henderson, 8 carries for 51 yards and a touchdown. The main thing that I don't know how to look at this game. We saw Tyler Huntley, and then for I guess the last 5 minutes, or at least the last 2 possessions that the Ravens had in the fourth quarter, Derrick Henry wasn't out there on the field. Now, I kept saying, oh, maybe he's hurt because he didn't have his helmet on, but he wasn't hurt. So I'm confused on what they were trying to do when they had this game, and when they had a moment in this game where they could have taken the game over with Derrick Henry running the ball. Obviously, the Patriots had to score 15 points to get ahead in the 24 for the final. But where was Derrick Henry? He only had 18 carries for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. At least get to 25 carries in a game like this. I'm confused on why they didn't use him.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone on this, Alex. He didn't play the last 12 minutes and 50 seconds of this game. Did not play a snap down the stretch. I didn't understand it at all. It was really the most head-scratching thing. And I don't know if this was a Todd Monken decision. I don't know if this was a Harbaugh decision. I don't know if collectively it was. I heard Harbaugh say something in a press conference about that, something about the rotation, and they went into the game knowing that they were going to rotate the backs that way. Look, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to hear that if I'm a Ravens fan, because you're right, especially when Lamar Jackson goes out of this game. So your star quarterback goes out, and nothing against Tyler Huntley. I know he's a quality backup, but when the backup goes in and you have a guy like Derrick Henry who is clearly having a big-time game, like you said, even without playing basically the last 13 minutes of this game, he goes for $128 and 2 touchdowns, and you stop feeding this guy the ball. It made no sense to me, especially in a close game. It's not like they were behind a couple scores and were forced to throw the ball here. I didn't understand it at all. And I think if this team actually ends up missing the playoffs, I'm really curious to see, because Baltimore is not the type of franchise that usually makes coaching changes, and they're usually a team with a lot of stability. But I have to wonder if this is one of the kind of the last straws, so to speak. If this team misses the playoffs, do they finally look at John Harbaugh and say, look, it might be time for a change? All right, Alex, college football playoff first round games in the books. Look, we had a couple games that quite frankly just didn't matter, and we don't really need to spend a lot of time on the G5 games. Oregon, Ole Miss, blowout, Tulane and James Madison. Look, no disrespect to them, but they had no business being in this field. I want to focus on the 2 really good matchups that we did have in the first round, Alabama, Oklahoma, and the Miami, Texas A&M game, because look, Alabama falls down 17 points early in the second quarter, and it looked like Oklahoma might just run away with this thing. The Oklahoma defense was lights out early. The offense for Oklahoma was mixing it up. They were giving Alabama some looks that they weren't ready for. I thought the Sooners did a really good job utilizing some quarterback runs, the screen game, and then boom, everything flipped in this game. The momentum completely shifted to Alabama, and the Sooners only converted 2 of their last 11 third downs down the stretch. What was your big takeaway from this big comeback for Alabama?
Well, look, watching this game earlier, I watched it in the first quarter, and I saw that Oklahoma's defense came to play. That was the first thing I saw. And then I didn't catch up on the game until after Alabama had scored in the second half, where I didn't even know they came back and tied it at 17 going into half, nor did I know they even took the lead in the third quarter. So even from my perspective, I had to do some running around. Obviously, it's close to Christmas, but looking at that and seeing what happened there, I was actually surprised. And I said, whoa, Alabama has made a comeback in this game, and they're not running the ball, nor is Oklahoma being able to run the ball. They ran the ball 33 times for 55 yards, and Alabama ran it 25 times for 28 yards. No running game for either team. So this was going to be a passing game, and it looks like Alabama, even though they had less passing yards, they did all of the passing and things that they had to do down to the stretch.
Yeah, statistically, if you just looked across the board and just looked at the stat sheet, you'd probably think that Oklahoma won this game handedly. But yeah, Alabama just made all the plays down the stretch. And I thought Alabama did a really good job. Once the momentum kind of shifted, a lot of it came down to coaching because Alabama gave Oklahoma a lot of different looks defensively. They mixed between man and zone coverages throughout the game. I thought they did a great job confusing Mateer, and the third quarter was all Alabama. The Bama defense was getting after Mateer. They had 5 sacks in this game. I mean, I just think, plain and simple, this game came down to coaching and in-game adjustments, and that's where Kalen DeBoer and his staff checked all the boxes to flip this game to Alabama, and they get a huge win on the road in a hostile environment.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this game, like you said, if you look at it from the game stats, Oklahoma won every single statistic with the exception of one, and it was the interceptions thrown.
Let's get to this Miami-Texas A&M game. Now, look, check your offense at the door because this was a slugfest. Neither one of these teams could really move the ball at all. Now, I took Miami to win this game. Even though they were the underdog, I thought they had a legit chance to win this game, and they did. I never really bought into the Aggies. I thought they had a nice year. I like what Mike Elko's doing. It's no shot at them. I just thought that they were a team that kind of benefited from a pretty weak schedule this year. They were somehow magically they were able to really avoid all of the best teams in the SEC and kind of roll through the conference until late when they got smoked by really the only good team they played in the regular season, which was Texas. You know, looking at what they did throughout the year, they barely beat South Carolina. They barely beat Arkansas. Those were big red flags for me. If you're going to tell me you're a legit college football playoff team and a legit national championship contender, you got to pass the test. And I didn't think, I know their record showed that they were, but I always had some real question marks about this team as far as like, are they good, but how good are they? You know, the last 2 games of the year, once again, against Texas and now Miami, they just looked very, very average at best.
Right. And this is another game. You can basically look down from just the game stats and see that Texas A&M had everything won with the exception of the score, obviously, but then obviously also the exception in terms of turnovers from you rather, and then took control of the game. They had a fumble loss and 2 interceptions thrown, and you cannot do that, especially if Carson Beck is not turning the ball over. If he's not going to turn the ball over and you can run the ball, it's going to be a game won for Miami.
Yeah, if you remember, Alex, when we were previewing this game, that was something I circled in this game. As I said, it's going to be a matter of which quarterback plays a clean game, not necessarily a great game, because I wasn't sure either quarterback would put up big numbers. I thought the most important thing was who's going to play a cleaner game and take care of the football. And clearly, Marcel Reed was the guy who made the big turnovers in this game, really cost them, really cost the Aggies this game because that Aggies defense came to play. I mean, they really kept them in this game, even with their offense struggling. Now, their defense did give up a ton of rushing yards, but they did a good job keeping Miami out of the end zone for the most part. The Aggies offense, though, has just been abysmal. And look, Marcel Reed, I'm not trying to crap on this kid. Look, he showed some real improvement this year. But I still have to question the decision-making and just being consistent. And to me, that was the big question mark coming into this game. Like I said, Aggies defense was really good. Miami struggled to move the ball in this game, but they gave up some big plays late. And that was the difference in this game. And Miami didn't give up on the run, and I thought it paid off. Running back Mark Fletcher really took over in the second half. 172 yards on 17 carries, including that big 56-yarder to set up the Malachi Toney game-winning touchdown. Look, Mark Fletcher is going to get this week's college football helmet sticker for me. I mean, he was huge in this game, especially late.
Yeah, you know what? And I don't mind giving him the same helmet sticker as well. I mean, I thought that he did his job. He came in there and he did his job, and he made everything right that was going on with Miami, because what they can do is go in there, score the least amount of points, but still win the way that they play defense.
Running game and defense, man, that's going to win you a lot of games, especially on the road. Tough environment, big time win for them, big time win for that program. Now, we'll get into college football playoff games. We'll make some predictions on the next round of games. We've got some huge matchups coming up, so that's going to be a lot of fun to predict down the stretch here. But guys, that is going to do it for today's episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it, PGF Nation. I want to wish each and every one of you a Merry Christmas, a happy holiday season, a happy New Year. We will see you guys next time with all kinds of playoff talk, NFL talk coming down the stretch. But once again, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, give us a follow on social media at PGF Podcast. Because once again, I'm Brad Fowler. He's Alex Higdon. This is Pint Glass Football, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Pint Glass Football Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter at PGF Podcast.